Lacey, April, and Kia.
When you think of a speech, what do you think of? Anybody?
Boring.
Who do you think gives them? What comes to mind?
Politicians.
I usually think of the president or governor. So I was a little shocked when we signed up for this class and Mr. Vendetti said, hey, so here comes this guy named Bill from Toastmasters in Tacoma. And he comes in and he starts telling us about this organization. And I'm thinking, there's an organization for speaking? You gotta be kidding me. So after listening to Bill, and Mr. Vendetti tells us, and you will be contacting one of these Toastmaster clubs. And my inner voice in my head went, oh man. So that was just another thing to pile on my plate for the day. Luckily he signed groups and I ended up with Kia in April and we managed to do just fine with that. So today our venture begins by having Kia tell you about our 3 points, which is how we went about contacting a Toastmasters club after being told by Mr. Vendetti that we needed to do that for requirement for speech number 6. How our speeches were at the place and our overall opinions of how the organizations ran and the club that we went to.
Well, me and April and Lacey, we met up in the library to get some names and numbers of some Toastmaster establishments, and it came up to about a total of 36, and she spread them out between us. And Lacey and April started calling while we were in the library, and I kind of took my list and put it in my bag, and I did not call when she gave me the list. And a whole week went by, and she contacted me, and she said, well, Kia, did anybody say anything yet? And I'm like, nope, sure didn't. Knowing that I never called.
Yeah.
Okay? So then, April's like, man, this lady, she ended up on the phone with this lady, and I don't know if she ever heard back from that lady, because she never said anything, but I finally took that piece of paper out of my bag, and I said, Kia, call that one. And it was for the Tacoma Engineering. And when I called them, they accepted me on my first phone call. So the first person I called accepted. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so when I was making my little notations about the Toastmaster while I'm talking to this lady on the phone, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is going to be a room filled of older people. It's going to be boring. I really don't want to go in here, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of procrastinated with the email back and forth with them. And the one that I was signed up for, I ended up not being able to go because I couldn't get my group the way I wanted to because I was having health problems. So I ended up going to a Toastmaster meeting at the City Hall with Zugabi. And at that Toastmaster meeting, I learned a lot. When I went in, I found out that the Toastmasters was established in 1924. And that Toastmasters is in over 116 countries, I believe it said. Yeah, over 116 countries, whoever thought that, And what else? They have, what I learned at the Toastmasters was that they have like competitions, and Toastmasters is not just for going and doing speeches. It also teaches you like leadership skills. It teaches you how to gain professionalism. It had helped me a lot. I got a lot of feedback from the person who had evaluated me there when I gave my speech. I was scared. I was holding on to the podium. And as I got into my speech, which was about me and some personal experiences I went through in my life, as I got into my speech, I kind of relaxed more, started using more hand gestures. I was voted the most improved on speeches in the Toastmasters, so I'm kind of proud of that because, yeah, you guys know it's kind of hard for me to get up here and talk in front of you guys. Anyway, person who evaluated me, his name was Aaron, and Aaron had gave me some feedback as to what I should do before I start giving a speech. And he said one thing I should do is like clear my throat and try not to be as nervous and make lots of eye contact with the audience so that I can get a feel from everybody. So one of the things he had to say was Kia made good eye contact. She made good vocal tones. She was very audible, and she projected very well. I was also evaluated by another person named Ken, who I believe was the table topic person of our Toastmasters group. Anyway, one of the readbacks I got back from him was that it said that you have compelling grammar was a problem a couple of times. It says grammar was a problem a couple of times, but would have liked to hear more to the steps that it took to the story that I presented to them, which was how I lost my children and how I got them back. And so they asked me to come back and present the rest of my story so that they can find out the conclusion of how I got my kids back. Anyway, from this Toastmaster meeting, I've learned leadership a little bit better. I wasn't quite sure, as to the aspects of being a leader. I was in counseling once and somebody told me that sometimes it's better to be a follower than a leader, so I was kind of confused on that, but they reconfirmed, that being a leader and being in leadership is the best thing to do. And anyway, excuse me. After I went to the Toastmasters meeting, I now feel that I can present a speech more effectively to people. I do have to practice a little bit more in the mirror. See the mirror back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is good. I don't know. I don't know. I hope I gave you a general idea of how I felt before the Toastmasters, and then how I felt during the Toastmasters, the reassurance that I got from it, and how I feel now that I have been to a Toastmasters event. I went over some readings about the Toastmasters, and one of them was explaining about how Toastmasters have been around for 50 years. This was an article that was in the NZ Business paper, which is in New Zealand. Also, I had a reading about how 82 contestants from the Toastmasters ended up being semi-finalists in the Toastmasters competition for the speeches that they have. And then my final reading was by Rebecca Nappy, and she spoke about speaking easier with public speaking, how it can help you to relax your nerves and help you speak better without being nervous. So that's what I have for my experience with Toastmasters. As far as these ladies right here, I want to thank you, and I had fun working with the time that we did get. It was very hard, you guys, us being parents. This woman here works a lot. She takes care of kids, and I'm taking care of kids, so we didn't really get enough time together. But I'm glad that the time that we did get together, I had fun. Thank you, guys.
I would first like to thank Lacey for stepping up and being the leader of our group. And just right away, she was like, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna call these people. I'm gonna get a hold of them. I'll set up the meeting. Unfortunately, it wasn't as easy as I think she thought it was going to be, and she needed our help, which was fine because we're a team. So, like Kia stated, we met in the library. We got a room. We weren't just making random phone calls in the library, interrupting people. Just like so, Lacey hands us these pieces of paper with this, and she said, call. So I whipped out my cell phone, and I called one, and a couple numbers I got were disconnected. So I crossed them out, and I get to this one right here that is all scratched out, and a lady answers. The lady tells me I need to get a hold of Don Sellers to make the meeting, and then she proceeds to tell me how Don is her ex-husband, how he was sleeping with her best friend, and how she don't sleep with people that sleep with other people because that's how you get STDs. So the whole time I am scribbling this out. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to call any more people. I don't want to talk in front of these people. It was horrible. I'm not talking, I'm not calling nobody else. I was scared after that. And then she tells me, here's my phone number, you can call me whenever you want if you feel like talking. No. I was done calling after that. So, I think I got a hold of one before that and left a message. She actually emailed me back, and I think that's who we went to, was at the Lakewood City Hall. But after that, I was freaked out. I was like, I do not even want to be a part of this group. They talk too much. So, we go there, me and Lacey. Unfortunately, Kia couldn't go with us, but me and Lacey had a clear understanding that we were not going alone. This was something that we could not do on our own, and no matter what, we were going to go together. I actually had to skip some of my English class to be there, but as long as I was with Lacey or somebody that I knew, I did not care what I missed, because I was not going by myself. So, we were really persistent on finding one. We knew this was something that had to get done for this speech, and when we get there, I was nervous, I was scared, I didn't know what to expect. Lacey was with me, so I had a lot of support, and they were so easygoing in there, just so nice, warm, inviting. Everybody was. They all introduced themselves as we walked in. I felt honored to be there. I was reading in a book, this book, Talking with Confidence for the Painfully Shy. He concludes the book with public speaking, or using public speaking is like using your muscles. The more that you use them, the more powerful they'll become. I totally understand that, because at first, just being in this class and getting up here was nerve-wracking. I'm a little more confident speaking out loud in public. I expressed that confidence yesterday. I surprised myself, actually. I went to the Killing Fields. I attended this speech, and they told us before he started speaking that interrupt him, ask questions. If you don't understand anything, interrupt him, ask questions, he'll answer them for you. I was like, hey, well, that's weird. He's trying to do a speech. Why would he want to be interrupted during his speech? But there's a lot of things that he would talk about that were so natural to him that most people wouldn't understand. Like, oh, we had to kill all the alligators to cross the river. How do you kill the alligators to cross the river? Well, you have to blow them up. I mean, stuff like, you have to interrupt him because stuff's just natural to him to say it. So I actually was able to raise my hand and ask him a question, which was, he has stated that, he said that when they were separating the group, they put the rich kids and the smart kids, students, on one truck and the farming kids on another truck. He was actually, a student going to school, but he said he was a farmer. I asked him how he knew to say that he was a farmer. And he said that if one of the guys from the truck where the rich kids were, jumped off and came and ran and told them, because they were killing all the rich kids. They were killing all the successful, smart kids. So he knew then that he needed to say he was a farmer so he survived. And just being able to, I think if I never attended Toastmasters to build up my confidence, I would have never raised my hand and asked a question. I would have let everybody else around me ask questions, so that felt good. Another reading that I did was in this book, Butterflies Be Gone. The 5 main fears of public speaking are the fears of being afraid. You're afraid to be afraid. You're afraid to think what others are thinking about you. You're afraid of just what other people are thinking about you. You're afraid of your plan going haywire, like I guess what happened to Edison, and he wasn't ready. That was something that he didn't have. If this doesn't happen, then we could just continue on. I think that might have rambled his speech. I'm not sure, but you're afraid of failure, or you're afraid of crowds in general. So that was interesting to read. And this whole experience was really great for me. Working with the team that I had and just being able to speak in front of you, and now knowing that I am able to go out wherever and go speak wherever. I'm gonna turn this over to Lacey and she can tell you about her experience with the Toastmasters and public speaking.
So as you can see, it was kind of a challenge contacting a place. We've been given since the second week of school to do this. And I felt like I called everybody under the moon on that list. I went through every number. And luckily, the first person I called was like, yeah, I can get you in, but not till March 2nd. And I'm like, that's not going to work because we had to present around March 5th. And I didn't want to wait till the last minute. So I finally decided I'm going to print this out and I'm going to start tossing letters to these guys. And I'm going to tell them, you need to make some phone calls. I can't do this alone. So luckily, I harassed them to death between text messaging and phone calls and messages, and I was an evil mother at that point. Mama Bear came out, and I was like, no, okay, you're going to do this, and you're going to get back to me because I need to get this for my grade. So luckily, I was really thrilled when actually the two of them both said they got something on the same exact day after I was informed that Mr. Vendetti said, if you can't get in as a group, go as a single. And then I started to panic. And then luckily, April called and said, I got a snag. Lo and behold, the day after that, somebody called me back and said, oh yeah, we can get you in, Lacey. Oh, thank you. But that's all right. I was all right with it. As far as going there, I was the first one to end up at the City Hall that day. And I waited around for April at class. I just stared at the water fountain out front. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This isn't any different than when we got in this class in the very beginning and I didn't know any of you. And I was like, this is what medical assisting is about, so I'm going to end up meeting strangers every day. I usually don't have a problem talking to strangers, but I usually don't get up and tell my life story in front of strangers either. So we went in there, we didn't know where we were going, and as we were cruising along, I'm like, did you print out the information about what room they're going to be located in? She's like, no, I didn't bring that email. So then we're walking, and April keeps going, and I'm like, hey, there's a sign right there that says Toastmasters. I think this is the room. So we slowly peeked our heads in, and there was a couple people in there, and they were like, oh, hi, and they greeted us really well. Desiree was really nice, and as they each piled in, they introduced themselves and asked if we were speaking today. I went up there to the podium second. I was thrilled to know that April was going first because I really enjoy watching others so that I can figure out how to do better. So you were sort of the guinea pig, and I was thrilled at that. I went up there and just basically spoke about why I chose to come back to school and why I'm becoming a medical assistant. Bart was the one that critiqued me in the very end and told me that because it was really hit a note with him because he came from a family that was in the medical field. And he said that he really liked the warm tone and how friendly and overwhelming I accept people, that was really great about me, and that not to be so held back, don't hold myself back so much because I feel like embarrassed or scared or afraid. So I thought that was kind of good. Overall, I would say that I'm not certain that I would become a club member, maybe as I get older. I have 4 kids right now. I have enough on my plate. And my husband. I'm not even going to go there. So I think it's a good thing. I think that if people really need the assistance, I'm going to recommend it to people. I've never known anything like this ever existed. And I think it's neat. And to find out that it's not just something really tiny of like a group of mommy and me's. It's something that's huge. It's known around the world basically, and I had no idea it existed. I would recommend it to those that really truly need to get out there, whether it's a one-time experience, a lifetime experience, whether you're having midlife crisis and you feel that you need some people to help you out, because these people were of all ages. I mean, they were a little bit older, but they varied. So it wasn't like it was a bunch of 60-year-olds in there criticizing you for being 20-something-year-old with 4 kids or 30-something-year-old with 4 kids. So I thought that was really cool. So you've heard us speak about contacting them and our socializing there while we were there, and how Kia didn't unfortunately get to go with us, but she got a whole different experience, which was nice to hear. How somebody else in our group got a completely different experience than what we had. And then you also got to hear about our overall opinion. And with that, we'd all like to leave you guys with some high fives for all participating and doing a great job with Toastmasters.